First contact incident. The void between stars was silent as Commander Ilara Chen drifted in her emergency pod. The reconnaissance mission had gone catastrophically wrong when her ship, the ESV Pathfinder, encountered something impossible, a gravitational anomaly that tore through the hull like tissue paper. As senior officer, she had ordered the evacuation while staying behind to ensure the data packets were transmitted home. Now she was the only one left. Her pod's emergency beacon pulsed weakly, conserving what little power remained. 6 months of drifting, surviving on recycled water and emergency rations. The cryosleep system had malfunctioned 3 weeks ago, leaving her fully conscious as the life support systems gradually failed around her. Ilara checked the oxygen readout. 8 hours left. She closed her eyes, trying to find peace with the fact that humanity's first deep space reconnaissance mission would end with her becoming another piece of cosmic debris. Then, a shadow fell across the pod's small viewport. The alien ship was massive, its hull composed of overlapping metallic plates that seemed to shift and realign continuously. It engulfed her tiny pod like a whale swallowing plankton. Ilara felt a jolt as tractor beams locked onto her vessel, pulling it inexorably toward an opening in the behemoth's side. First contact, she whispered, placing her hand against the cold polymer of the viewport. Not how I imagined it. The pod's systems flared briefly as it was scanned, then went completely dark. Emergency protocols activated in her neural implant, a secret military modification that was now her only functioning technology. With rapid eye movements, she activated its emergency beacon and recording functions. If she survived this, Earth would know what happened. If not, the implant would continue transmitting until its power source depleted. Light flooded the pod as the door was forced open. Ilara squinted against the brightness, her eyes gradually adjusting to reveal 3 towering figures. Their bodies were humanoid but wrong. Too tall, too thin, with joints that bent in impossible ways. Their skin shimmered with an iridescence that shifted between purple and green under the harsh lights. One reached for her with a 7-fingered hand. Ilara didn't resist as they pulled her from the pod. Gravity hit her like a physical blow after months in near-zero conditions. Her legs buckled, and she collapsed onto the smooth metallic floor. Subject appears severely weakened, one of the aliens said, the words somehow perfectly understandable through her neural implant's translation matrix. Physiology scan indicates multiple system failures. Primitive life form, another observed. Look at the vessel. Chemical propulsion, no FTL capability. How did it get this far from its origin point? The third alien, distinguished by elaborate markings on its torso, made a series of clicking sounds that might have been laughter. Take it to medical assessment. The Arctian will want to examine any new species, even one as technologically stunted as this. Ilara was lifted and placed on a hovering platform. As they moved through corridors of shifting metal and pulsing light, she took careful note of every detail. The ship's interior architecture defied Euclidean geometry. Corridors that should have intersected didn't, while others seemed to loop back on themselves impossibly. The medical bay was a sterile chamber filled with devices that resembled surgical instruments only in the most abstract sense. She was transferred to an examination table that immediately molded itself to the contours of her body. I am Vexel, Chief Examiner of the Vesperian Empire, the marked alien announced, looming over her. You are now property of the Empire. Cooperate, and you will be treated humanely. My name is Commander Ilara Chen of the Earth Space Vessel Pathfinder, she replied steadily, despite her racing heart. I represent the United Earth Alliance on a peaceful exploratory mission. Vexel's head tilted at an angle that seemed anatomically impossible. It speaks. Interesting. The translation matrix functions despite its primitive technology. Scan its neural activity. A device descended from the ceiling, projecting a field of purple light that enveloped Ilara's head. She felt a tingling sensation as it probed her mind. Anomalous readings, one of the assistants reported. Its neural architecture is significantly more complex than its technology would suggest. There's evidence of artificial enhancement. Vexel's compound eyes narrowed. Explain this discrepancy, Earth creature. Standard neural interface. Ilara lied smoothly. For ship operations. You lie, Vexel said flatly. The complexity indicates military-grade augmentation. Your species has prioritized neural technology over propulsion systems. Curious evolutionary path. The examination continued for hours. Blood samples were taken, tissue scraped, scans performed. Ilara endured it silently, gathering information while revealing as little as possible. Her implant recorded everything, maintaining its silent countdown to transmission. The specimen's biology is remarkably adaptive, Vexel noted to his assistants. Observe how quickly it adjusts to our atmosphere. Most species require days to acclimatize, yet its cellular structure is already modifying to increase oxygen absorption efficiency. Survival characteristic of an apex predator, one assistant suggested, or a parasite, the other added. Vexel made the clicking sound again. Either way, a trait worth studying. Prepare it for transport to Central Research. While they were distracted entering data, Ilara flexed her hand, activating the emergency protocols in her neural implant. A precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse rippled outward from the device, subtle enough to avoid detection, but strong enough to interface with the alien technology around her. The restraints holding her suddenly loosened. The aliens didn't notice, still absorbed in their analysis. Ilara remained still, waiting for the right moment. The Archon's fleet has been notified of our discovery, Vexel announced. They will rendezvous with us in 26 cycles to collect the specimen. The Draxid Conclave will protest, one assistant said. Their treaty with us prohibits unilateral acquisition of new species. The Draxid are concerned only with resources, not knowledge, Vexel dismissed. This creature represents something unique, a species that developed neural technology before mastering space travel. The Archon will want to understand why. Ilara processed this information carefully. Political division among alien species could be useful. Her implant continued its silent countdown. 18 hours until automated transmission of everything it had recorded. The examination room doors slid open, and another alien entered. Unlike the others, this one wore what appeared to be armor, plates of shifting metal that flowed like liquid over its form. Security alert, the newcomer announced. Unidentified vessels have entered Vesperian space. They match no known configuration. Vexel turned sharply. Location: Sector 7 Alpha. Approaching rapidly. They are ignoring communication protocols. Impossible, Vexel said. That sector is empty space. There are no viable systems within 50 light years. Ilara felt a surge of hope. Impossible, unless. The Draxid are becoming more aggressive, one assistant suggested. No, Vexel replied. This is something else. Increased security on the specimen. If these vessels are searching for it, that was the opening Ilara needed. As the aliens turned toward the door, she rolled off the examination table, ignoring the pain shooting through her atrophied muscles. Her hand closed around what appeared to be a surgical instrument, a rod of shifting metal that hummed with energy. The security alien turned just as she activated the device. A beam of intense light erupted from one end, slicing through the nearest console. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. Containment breach. Vexel shouted. Subdue the creature. Ilara ducked under the reaching arms of one assistant, using the alien's momentum to send it crashing into its companion. The security officer drew a weapon. But Ilara was already moving, diving behind a bank of equipment. The specimen displays combat training, Vexel observed with clinical detachment, even as chaos erupted around him. Fascinating. Ilara didn't waste breath responding. She analyzed the room quickly, noting the door controls, the ventilation system, the power conduits running along the ceiling. Her neural implant was feeding her tactical data, highlighting structural weaknesses and possible escape routes. The security officer fired its weapon. Instead of a beam or projectile, a wave of force rippled through the air. Equipment crashed against walls, but Ilara had already calculated the weapon's effect radius and dropped flat to the floor. It anticipated the gravimetric pulse. Vexel noted with what sounded like admiration. Remarkable. Ilara rolled to her feet, ignoring the burning in her muscles. She feinted left, then darted right, reaching the door controls. Her neural implant interfaced with the alien technology, forcing the door open. The security officer fired again. This time, Ilara couldn't avoid the gravimetric pulse entirely. It caught her peripheral, sending her spinning into the corridor. Pain lanced through her shoulder as she collided with the wall. Alert all security teams, she heard Vexel order. The specimen must be recaptured intact. Ilara pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. The corridor stretched before her, branching in multiple directions. Her implant was mapping the ship based on what she'd observed, but much remained unknown. The security officer fired again. This time, Ilara couldn't avoid the gravimetric pulse entirely. It caught her peripheral, sending her spinning into the corridor. Pain lanced through her shoulder as she collided with the wall. Alert all security teams, she heard Vexel order. The specimen must be recaptured intact. Ilara pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. The corridor stretched before her, branching in multiple directions. Her implant was mapping the ship based on what she'd observed, but much remained unknown. She chose a direction and ran, her movements becoming more fluid as her body remembered its training. Behind her, alarms continued to sound. Attention! A voice boomed throughout the ship. Human specimen has escaped containment. Exercise caution. Subject displays unexpected capabilities and intelligence. Ilara smiled grimly. They were beginning to understand. Humanity might be technologically behind, but adaptability had always been their greatest strength. She rounded a corner and found herself facing 3 more security officers. Before they could react, she had already analyzed their stance, their weapons, their armor. The neural implant fed her probability calculations, highlighting vulnerabilities. Surrender, human, one ordered. Ilara's response was to lunge forward, moving faster than they expected from a supposedly primitive species. She slid between the first 2, using their own weapons against them. The third managed to activate a containment field, but Ilara had already calculated its energy signature and frequency. Her implant sent a countering pulse, disrupting the field just long enough for her to pass through. The alien stared in shock as she continued her escape. Security breach in Sector 4. The announcement continued. Unknown vessels have bypassed outer defenses. Boarding imminent. Ilara felt a surge of hope. Either humanity had developed faster than light travel much sooner than expected, or she wasn't the only intelligent species in the galaxy who opposed the Vesperian Empire. Either way, chaos was her ally now. She continued through the labyrinthine corridors, evading pursuit, the neural implant feeding her tactical advantages at every turn. Hours later, exhausted but free, Ilara stood at a viewport, watching as unknown ships engaged the Vesperian vessel. They were smaller, more agile, their hulls reflecting light in patterns that suggested an entirely different technological base than either human or Vesperian design. Her neural implant's countdown reached 0. The compressed data packet, containing everything she had learned about Vesperian technology, biology, and politics, transmitted on quantum frequencies that even the aliens couldn't detect. Whether or not she survived, Earth would know what awaited them among the stars. As the mysterious ships closed in, Ilara prepared herself for whatever came next. One human, alone in the vastness of space, had just changed the course of galactic history forever. The human response. Admiral Kai Nakamura stood on the bridge of the UES Invictus, humanity's first true warship. 6 months ago, they had received a quantum-encrypted transmission from Commander Chen's neural implant, data that had revolutionized human understanding of spaceflight, alien biology, and interstellar politics. Jump complete, Admiral, his executive officer reported. We've emerged at the coordinates specified in Commander Chen's transmission. Nakamura nodded, studying the tactical display. Around the Invictus, 7 other ships had emerged from hyperspace, the entirety of Earth's newly constructed deep space fleet. Each vessel incorporated technologies reverse-engineered from Commander Chen's data, allowing humanity to compress centuries of development into months. "Life signs from the planet?" he asked. "Multiple species detected," the science officer replied. "Consistent with the Vesperian biological profile Commander Chen documented. There's also a significant orbital presence, 17 vessels of varying configurations. Any sign of Commander Chen's neural implant signal?" The communications officer adjusted her controls. "Yes, sir. Weak but present. She's alive." A murmur of relief passed through the bridge crew. Ilara Chen had become a legend during her absence, the first human to make contact with alien life, and potentially the key to humanity's survival in a universe that had suddenly become much more crowded. "They've detected us," the tactical officer announced. 3 Vesperian vessels breaking orbit, moving to intercept. Nakamura straightened his uniform. "Open a channel. Let's see if Commander Chen's translation matrices still work." The main view screen flickered, resolving into the image of a Vesperian. Its iridescent skin shifted colors rapidly, a sign of agitation, according to Chen's data. "Unknown vessels," the alien said, the words translated through the ship's computer. "You have entered Vesperian sovereign space. Identify yourselves immediately or face destruction." Nakamura stepped forward. "I am Admiral Kai Nakamura of the United Earth Alliance. We've come for Commander Ilara Chen, who was taken captive by your forces 6 months ago. Return her to us, and we'll depart peacefully." The Vesperian's skin flashed brilliant purple. "Impossible. You claim to be from the same species as the specimen. Your technology is inconsistent with its vessel." "We've been busy," Nakamura replied with a thin smile. "Commander Chen's data proved quite illuminating. Now, will you return her, or must we retrieve her ourselves?" The Vesperian's compound eyes narrowed. "You have been classified as a potential threat species. Your presence here confirms this assessment. Your vessels will be impounded, and your crew studied. Prepare to be boarded." The transmission cut off. Nakamura turned to his tactical officer. "Shields up. Prepare defensive systems only. I want to demonstrate our capabilities without starting a war." "Sir," the science officer interrupted, "I'm detecting unusual subspace fluctuations. Multiple vessels emerging from hyperspace, not Vesperian design." The tactical display updated, showing 20 new contacts appearing behind the human fleet. The ships were sleek, crystalline structures that seemed to absorb and redirect light. "We're being hailed," the communications officer announced, "by the new arrivals." "On screen," Nakamura ordered. The view screen displayed a being unlike the Vesperians, 4-armed, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with inner light. "Human vessels," the alien said, its voice melodic despite the translation. "I am Sentinel Zara of the Draxid Conclave. We have been monitoring Vesperian communications since they captured your scout. We offer alliance against our common adversary." Nakamura exchanged glances with his executive officer. Commander Chen's data had mentioned the Draxid Conclave, a rival power to the Vesperians, with their own distinct technology and culture. "Why would you help us?" Nakamura asked. "The Vesperians violated our treaty by keeping your scout's existence secret," Zara replied. "More importantly, we have observed your species' rapid technological adaptation. The Vesperians see you as a threat. We see you as an opportunity." Before Nakamura could respond, the tactical officer called out, "Vesperian vessels powering weapons." "Defensive posture," Nakamura ordered. "No first strikes." The lead Vesperian ship fired, a pulse of energy that should have disabled the Invictus's primary systems. Instead, the shields absorbed and redirected the energy, leaving the human ship unharmed. As I said, Nakamura transmitted to the Vesperian commander, "We've been busy. Last chance. Return Commander Chen, and we'll leave your space peacefully. The Vesperian response was another volley of weapons fire, this time targeting all 8 human vessels simultaneously. The human ship shields held, their new technologies proving more than a match for Vesperian weapons. The Draxid fleet is moving to engage the Vesperians, the tactical officer reported. They're leaving us a clear path to the planet. Nakamura nodded. Launch retrieval team. Find Commander Chen. As the smaller craft departed the Invictus, the space around them erupted in battle. The Draxid ships moved with impossible grace, their crystalline structures refracting energy weapons while their own beams cut through Vesperian shields. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a direct transmission from the planet. It's Commander Chen." "Put her through," Nakamura ordered. Ilara Chen's face appeared on screen. She looked older, her face leaner, her eyes harder, but very much alive. "Admiral," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos visible behind her. "Glad to see Earth got my message." "Commander," Nakamura replied, relief evident in his voice. "Your data changed everything. We're here to bring you home." "The situation has become more complex," she replied. "I've been working with a resistance movement within Vesperian territory, species they've conquered or subjugated. When I escaped their research facility, I found allies among them." The camera panned to show aliens of various species working at what appeared to be a makeshift command center. "The Vesperians have been conquering and experimenting on species for centuries," Ilara continued. "They were planning to do the same to Earth, but my escape and your arrival have disrupted their timeline. We've made temporary alliance with the Draxid Conclave," Nakamura informed her. "They seem to share your assessment of the Vesperians." "The Draxid are opportunists," Ilara replied. "They oppose the Vesperians, but they're not friends. They're interested in human adaptability, specifically how quickly we've advanced using the data I sent." As if to emphasize her point, another explosion rocked her location. "I'm transmitting coordinates for extraction. There's something here you need to see before we leave. Technology the Vesperians have kept hidden from everyone, including the Draxid." The transmission cut off abruptly. Nakamura turned to his executive officer. "Inform the retrieval team of the new coordinates, and prepare a secure bay for whatever Commander Chen is bringing back." Hours later, as the battle in orbit reached its climax, the retrieval team returned to the Invictus with Commander Chen and 6 non-human allies. They brought with them a device, a featureless black cube that seemed to absorb light. "This," Ilara explained as she stood before the senior officers in the ship's secure conference room, "is what the Vesperians call a nexus key. It's the reason they've remained dominant despite technically superior species like the Draxid." She touched the cube, and it responded to her neural implant, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light indicated what appeared to be wormholes or transit points. "The Vesperians discovered this network millennia ago," she continued. "Ancient technology left by a precursor species. It allows instantaneous travel between any 2 points in the galaxy where these nodes exist." Nakamura studied the map with narrowed eyes. "And one of these nodes is near Earth." Ilara nodded. "That's how I ended up in Vesperian space despite our limited propulsion technology. The Pathfinder accidentally activated an ancient node near Saturn's rings. The Vesperians have been monitoring it, planning their approach to our system." "This changes everything," Nakamura said softly. "With this technology, humanity could establish itself as a galactic power overnight," Ilara finished. "Which is why I had to ensure it came into the right hands." One of the alien resistance fighters stepped forward, a being with 4 eyes and a body that seemed partly mechanical. "Commander Chen has shown us that humans possess something the Vesperians cannot comprehend, moral evolution alongside technological advancement. Our resistance has fought for generations, but never with hope of victory until now." The tactical officer's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, the Vesperian fleet is retreating. The Draxid are holding position at the edge of the system." Nakamura nodded. They're waiting to see what we do next. Elara gestured to the Nexus key. With this, we can return to Earth instantly. But the Vesperians won't stop coming. They fear what humanity represents, a species with both the capacity for rapid adaptation and the moral framework to use power responsibly. Then we'll give them something more immediate to fear, Nakamura decided. We'll use the Nexus to establish bases throughout the galaxy, forming alliances with other species the Vesperians have oppressed. Not conquest, protection. A defensive pact, Elara suggested, open to any species that values self-determination. In the days that followed, as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, diplomatic envoys were sent to dozens of worlds using the Nexus technology. The message was simple. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors like the Vesperians, nor as opportunists like the Draxid, but as allies to any who sought freedom. When the Invictus finally returned to Earth orbit, it carried representatives from 17 different species, the founding members of what would become the Galactic Defensive Pact. And at the formal ceremony in the United Nations Chamber, Commander Elara Chen received an honor unprecedented in human history, the gratitude of not just one world, but many. What began with one human adrift in an escape pod, she told the assembled delegates, has become the foundation for a new galactic order. Not based on technological superiority or military might, but on a simple principle that humans have understood for millennia. That all beings, regardless of origin, deserve the right to determine their own destiny. The Vesperian Empire's Council of Archons, watching the broadcast from their distant capital, realized too late the true danger humanity posed. It wasn't their weapons or their technology that made humans dangerous. It was their ideas. Ideas that were now spreading throughout the galaxy at the speed of light. And it had all begun with a single human warrior who had altered the fate of the galaxy forever.